Hi, I'm Johnny Simmons. I'm a drummer and a drum teacher, among other things, and I teach at the School of Fine Arts. Welcome to my home drum studio. I first became interested in music when I was a little boy and I was watching Kiss on the Midnight Special. And I was like, I want to do that. And later in 6th grade, school band became available and I started studying percussion. And a man named Mr. Michael Davis taught me so much about drumming and music and studying and working really hard at it. And he got me started in the right way, and I fell in love with drumming, and that has only grown since then. For about the last 20 years, I would say that my career has been split into thirds. I play music in a wide variety of bands, everything from jazz to country, mostly rock and hard rock. I do a lot of worship leading, and I've always held a pretty steady roster of private students. Right now I'm a member of 2 different cover bands, and then I have another 3 or 4 that I would say regularly employ me. I play pretty regularly at 3 different churches, and then I'm available for sitting in here and there with other people, of course. And I teach both here in my home studio and at SOFA. So I'm really fortunate to get to stay busy. I would say the most noteworthy thing that I've ever done is to be a member of Atomic Opera, with whom I was very fortunate to record the Gospel Cola album for Metal Blade Records in 2000. And we got to travel and play some really cool shows, and that was a blast, and I really enjoyed that. When it comes to worship leading, certainly the Smith Band is probably the most noteworthy thing that I've done. With Stephen and Star Smith, I got to travel around doing camps and conferences and big Bible studies and things like that, and that was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Creatively, I would say the highlight of my career has been the year that I spent playing solo drum set music. Following the lead of my hero, Terry Bozzio, I put together a bunch of pieces that I considered songs, and I would make a set list and go play in a club and try to entertain people. And that was really challenging, and it took a lot of my time, but I hope to return to it someday. I first began teaching when my teacher, Mr. Mike LaFave, took me aside and told me he had pretty much shown me everything that he knew. And then he asked me if I would start teaching his overflow at a local music store, which I did. And I've done it ever since then, and I just love to teach. I would say the things that I really enjoy the most about it are, first of all, when I see the light go on and someone gets it and they're like, oh, look, I can do it. You know, they started with nothing. They worked very hard. They did what I asked them to do, and it starts paying off. And I love to see that happen. I also feel incredibly privileged to be part of a tradition. You know, my instrument is only 100 years old, and yet there's already some traditions in terms of the techniques and the methods involved in learning how to play it. And I was very blessed to have that shared with me, so I feel a responsibility to carefully pass that on, you know, and I very much enjoy being part of that long tradition. I'm not sure what free time is, because I don't seem to have very much of it. But these days, if I get some time to just rest and recharge, I enjoy reading, and particularly theological studies. I like to grill a lot. And the rest of the time, I really just enjoy relaxing and recharging with my wife, you know, on our back patio, or watching a show, or simply reading together, or whatever. What downtime I get, I try to use that for rest, because I don't get a lot of it. In a former life, I used to lift a lot of weights, but clearly that doesn't happen much anymore. So yeah, mostly what I do is read and cook and chill out. Favorite bands come and go with me. Frankly, I really don't have a lot of free time to listen to music for pleasure. It's usually for work. But when I do, I can listen to anything from Indian classical music to speed metal, you know, and I like all points in between. my favorite bands tend to be progressive and heavy bands. Right now, I would say my favorites are Frost and Porcupine Tree, which are both prog bands from the UK. I'm a huge Trent Reznor fan, so Nine Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands. But again, favorites come and go. You know, I listen to a pretty wide variety of stuff. I'm really into a style of metal called gent right now, and it's very riffy and complicated, and a lot of musical superheroics and things like that. And I'm just really inspired by what those guys do. I probably should mention some favorite drummers. Terry Bozzio, as I said, has been my hero for my entire life. The man can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. Also, Gavin Harrison and Craig Blundell from the bands that I mentioned, I really love their drumming. When it comes to teaching, the late Jim Chapin is a huge hero of mine and taught me the hand techniques that I teach. And so he's really had an enormous influence on me, as has Mr. Mike Mangini. Mike, besides being just one of the most inspirational drummers I've ever had the pleasure of getting to meet, his methods of teaching and practicing and just time management have helped me tremendously, and I really enjoy passing that along to my students. The most important thing that a student can get from me is a work ethic. Beyond musical training and exercises and licks and beats and fills and any of that kind of jazz, a work ethic is the most important thing that a musician can have, because I find that it's not so common anymore. A lot of people don't have the ability to sit and do one thing hundreds of times for an hour. But that's a very important thing to develop, not only for your musical life, but just for your life. So if I can pass that along, if I can help a student understand that yes, drumming is fun and enjoyable and entertaining, but that's not all that it is. Over here, there's a lot of really very hard work that has to go into it for you to earn the ability to be entertained and to enjoy yourself. So if I can get that concept across, my work is done and the rest kind of takes care of itself. So that's what I hope to pass along the most. Okay, so thanks for joining me again in my natural habitat, and thanks for watching.